Alright, hello, welcome to group 2 of Minuscules. So I've already written out the letters on this one, just to save some time. But these ones are all ones that involve undertones in a few different ways. So we'll go through them one at a time. Today I'm using Diamine Writer's Blood ink, which is a really lovely fine ink. I think all Diamine ink that I've tried has been like this. But it does showcase wobbles quite easily, so just bear that in mind. Okay, so the first letter I'm looking at today is an I, which is nice and easy. It's basically essentially just an inch stroke plus an undertone. That's about right. And then you've got plus the tittle on the top, which if you watch my last video, it is the same size as a terminus dot. There we go, just some tissue so I can clean and move off. Just bear with. Okie dokie, let's go through this then. So with an I, pop that there, okay. Same deal as before, so you're looking at you want a parallel line between these two parts, and you also want to be able to fit in an oval at that point, same as you can fit roughly here somewhere. So this is the tittle. So it's the same size as a full stop, and it's the same size as a terminus dot. That should all be the same. Okay, so that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's one of those that's really good to practice though, because it does come up a lot. And I'll show you that later. But I'm going to go through, I'm just going to whistle stop through these 6 letters in this group. So this is a bigger group than the last one. So the next letter right here is a U, which is basically just 2 I's together. So we've got an entry stroke plus an undertone plus another undertone. Okay, alrighty. Okay, so exactly same deal as up here, but instead of 2 ovals, I would be looking at 3. So I should be able to fit 3 ovals in there. It should also look like 2 eyes put next to each other, and the gap should be roughly the same. Obviously we're eyeballing it, and no one measures it. I think just the more you do it, the more accurate you're going to get. Okay, then you've got a T. So a T is super similar. So you've got an entry stroke, plus you've got an undertone, but it's a tall undertone. And a T, if you can see my my guidelines, I do keep the paper quite thin, so hopefully you can still see, but the undertone is not 1 times the X height. It's kind of like, it's kind of a 1.5 tall. There you go. And then we have just the crossbar, which is a no pressure stroke. Okay, so we'll go through where that is. I just need to clean my nib off before it dries. This doesn't dry quite as fast as the walnut ink I used last video, but it is still quite fast, so I don't want to risk my nib getting damaged. Okay, so as we've said, from here we should have parallel lines here and here, which I've got, but then your top of your undertone here should be between the next X height up. And you can move this crossbar anywhere. The most traditional place for it to go is on the header line. So that's right here. It can move up and down as necessary though, and I will give you an example of that because it is good to know. If I can remember one. I think I've got loads of space, look at that. All right, so if we do a really quick T right here. There we go. So from a T, if I go into, what should we do? We'll just go for a TH, I think. This is a really common one, but it does trip a lot of people up. Oh, it's a little high for me. There we go. And I feel like my T is off. Look at that, but never mind. Okay, so the normal place to put it is on this header line right here. Depending on what you've got though, you can move it. So if we've got, no, I've got the wobbles course I do. So if we've got like TO, for example, where we don't need this area here having any more drama, sometimes it's more preferable to just move it slightly up. I have seen flourishes where they've gone completely above, but I would say that that's only in very fanciful writing. You can move the crossbar if needed, but it's normally just by a couple of millimeters either way. Okay, so if we move on to the next one is the letter D, which is sort of blending together groups 1 and 2. So we've got an entry stroke plus an oval. So that's like our A or our O, and then plus, and then you've got again the exact same thing for the T. So it's not exactly one higher, it's a little bit lower. It's about 1.5 there. It's about half a box higher. So I'm going to show you that. So here is my header line, there's my baseline, and again I'm about halfway here. Oh, it's a little low on that side, but it's about halfway. And then here I've obviously got an oval, so that is going to dictate how wide this can be. So this should contain an oval, just like that does, and it should be about even. I have seen variations on D's, which I don't really want to go into because I don't think that they would be standard. Yeah, I think they're more for flourishing really. I haven't seen D's that extend to a proper ascender. Some people I think would maybe think it would, but it is similar to a T, so it's not so tall. Okay, and then we're going to introduce a W. Ooh. So a W right here, that's all my ink bottles hanging together. Right, so W right here is our first letter where we're not starting with an entry stroke, we are starting with a compound turn. So a compound turn we've looked at. Oh, so I'm going to start at about halfway. That's my first stroke. And I'm going to end about halfway as well. And then I've got just an underturn, so that's why it's in this group. And then we've seen this before with an O, but it's also in a W. So again, we're looking for about a half circle kind of shape, and then something that is parallel. So if I just show you this here, we are starting at about the halfway line, and we're finishing about the halfway line here. It's hard to do when you're doing all the bits separately, but they should be evenly spaced in between all of them. So you can see in my example right here, if we look at this one, because I think that's a bit easier to see, but I have the same space here as I have here, as I have here. So I should basically be looking at the spaces for 3 ovals. Okay, that is a W. Move that along. And then our last letter here is a V. So have I got enough ink? Probably not. Let me just go back in for a little more. There we go. All right, so we're going to start again with a compound turn. And that's going to comprise the majority of our letter. So with a V, I tend to try and make the bottom a little pointed. It is very much user's choice here, but I do try and make it a little bit more pointed, just so it's a bit clearer for the letter for me. And then we've got another one of those exit strokes. Okay. So here I'm starting halfway. I'm going to go up a little bit higher, purely because this doesn't take very much space. So from here, that's more than halfway on my X height right there. So I need to go up a little higher on this side for a V. Okay, but you're basically doing the second half of a W, just again, nice and easy. So it's always good to do them together. Right, So if we go into some practice, there we go. So again, I would do just a row of a few until they feel about right. So I haven't done a lot of practice today. I find it really hard to balance practice at the minute. So many things keep getting in the way. Don't think I'm doing too badly here though. I think I'm going a little too far away, and I need to make sure that I think I'm getting there. Yeah, it's feeling good. Okay, so here is my row of eyes. I'll put the tittles in later. The tittles I'm not so bothered about. They should follow the directionality of the eyes, so whichever way the line is pointing. Oh, not that end of the pen though. There we go. So that if the eye is pointing along the slant line, then I would expect the tittle to be right above it. You can move it, like similar with the crossbar of the T, dependent on what you've got. Especially if you've got Minuscules or something nearby it, which may invade that area, then you may have to move the tittle accordingly. Okay, so I could do, there we go, I still have this from last time, that's amazing. Is this dry? Is it dry? I'm hoping so. Alright, if not, whoops. Okie dokie. So yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. You can tell I've gotten tighter compared to the beginning, and I'm pretty happy with that as a medium really. So I'm looking pretty consistent in like the second half, I would say. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I did lose some of them at the top, so I was going a little bit smaller, but I think that's just silliness really. I think I'm trying to go quick and I'm nervous for the video. So, but I think I'm doing okay in terms of consistency. You should be able to see in here, I should be able to fit an oval. And where I'm joining, so when I'm joining between one eye and another, it's not looking like that. It should be looking much smoother. It shouldn't look like it's just sticking in the side of it. It should look like a slope up. So if I didn't, okay, so like here in this one, I'm not super happy with because it looks like it's just sticking into the side of the next one. The other ones I'm pretty happy with. I definitely get better at it. I start good and I end good, but the middle isn't. I'm sure I keep doing that with all of mine, but never mind. Okay, that's what I'll be looking for with an eye. Let's practice till we get it right. Okay, I'm actually going to double count that because the U is going to look exactly the same for practice, and it shouldn't be any different. See, I feel like that's too narrow. That's better. Oh, that was humongous. My gosh. Oh, I'm really struggling. Okay. This means I need to do a little few more. I'm just going to keep going until I've got it where I'm happy. Swung that really wide actually, I'm running out of ink. Okay. I think I'm about right. Ooh. Ooh. I'm getting there. Sometimes it takes me like a few goes to get it right, and then sometimes it takes me absolutely, like that one was absolutely shocking, wasn't it? Okay. I think when you're doing a proper piece, you get into a rhythm and it all just starts to flow, and then you think that you're just amazing, and then you go back and try and practice the next day and it's like you can't write anymore. Right, I'm gonna end it there. I think I'm getting there. It looks pretty consistent aside from the massive swing I did over here, but that was right at the beginning, so we're not going to talk about that. I think we're looking pretty consistent. I could check with the envelope again, but it would just be the same as what I did earlier. Okay, so if I'm then looking at the T, I'm going to move this down one, otherwise it's going to... Oh, will I? I don't think I will, actually. Because then hopefully... Oh, I'm just still in frame, aren't I? There we go. Right. So I've got that gradual lifting of pressure towards the bottom. Ooh. Spacing is rough, huh? Am I even hitting the bottom properly? Just, but I think I'd be calling it lucky. There we go. Feel a bit more in control there. Slight shift of the arm. Yeah, that's way better. Let's grab a bit more ink. Put my line a little too far over that one. Okay, yeah, I think I'm about there. In terms of the crossbar, you can just do one long line, but I don't think it's necessary. Just as a note, if you do have a double T in a letter, like the word letter, then you would just do one big long crossbar. Don't try and stagger them. Otherwise it's going to look like they are too close together. So if I do it on these two, if I have one there and then I move one up, this is going to look far too cluttered in the middle. So you want to just do one confident line straight through. If you're like an ink dragger, okay, so even on your no pressure strokes, if you have a little bit of pressure, you can just fake it. So you can go to that and stop and then continue, stop and then continue. You can do that. No rule against that. Okay, that's a T. I check it basically the same way with my envelope. You'll be able to see if you've got ones that are particularly skinny, like this one here is way too skinny, I think. So I would probably mark that and just say that's not what I want, it's closer to this. Okay, so same deal with a D. So this oval is going to define a lot. I remember when I first started, I had loads of issues with a D, just getting the parts to marry up, because it feels like you've got to like psychically know where to put the tall underturn so that it's gonna because it shouldn't go ploughing into the oval. It should just be almost kissing the side of it. And you can see on my first two I've missed it, and that's absolutely fine. I think if you miss it, not the end of the world. If you've missed it by a long shot like I have with that one, so this one's not so bad. I could just do a little dot just in here and then it looks fine, but here that's actually quite a distance to cover, so I'm not happy with that one. Okay, but my other two are looking okay. I had loads of problems with knowing where to put the tall underturn, because I just felt like I was stabbing in the dark basically, and sometimes it would hit it and sometimes it wouldn't. And I remember asking my teacher, how can you make sure that you're that they're meeting properly as they should be? And she said that if you do your oval, so if I, can I go a little bit further down? Ooh, sorry, I've knocked the thing again. I'm sure I do that every video, but never mind. So she's saying, if you do your oval, she said to me, don't imagine taking your pen off the paper. That's going to be the best way. So for a while, when I was doing my practice, I would do my Ds and then just continue it up, which is fine. As long as you can cover it up, but don't do a complete full pressure stroke all the way down, otherwise you are going to look a bit more like a Grocers rather than copper plate. But that's some good advice, I thought, rather than seeing it as two separate bits, the oval and the underturn, to just think of it as a continuation and then another stroke. That really helped me to match them up. Okay, I've got 2 left, and I'm going to move the arm of this instead of moving that way, because I'm just getting concerned I'm going to push my balls off my desk. There we go. Okay, so then I've got W to do. Okay, I'll just go in here. So I'm going to start halfway along my X height, and we're going to go up, down, up, and it should be roughly equal distance away from that that down stroke. Oh my gosh, look how skinny that is compared to that. Okay, and then I think we have a decision to make. So once we get to this point, you can either do what I've done here, which is lead it into an underturn, or you can do a more complicated ligature. Which is actually kind of difficult. And I'm not super happy with it. It's not something I'm used to doing. I actually can't think of a single word with a double W in it. Cool. Okay. But yeah, I think it is up to you how you want to do it. If you find it easier to just start it with an underturn, like so if I do one here, so just stop and do it rather than try and do it all in one go. That might be a bit easier for you. I'd try it both ways and see what works. The difficulty here is that with your W, it's not going to look like a T or a W because you've got this section in between. So this isn't an underturn, but it should be about the width of an oval. So this section right here, my ink's still a little wet, so it's going to look a little dark, but this section right here should be the same as my other sections. Yeah, so if it's looking a bit separate, it's probably meaning that your ligature is too long, and if it's looking too smushed together, it's gonna look like your ligature is too short. So be careful with the width of your ligatures, because that should also be an oval. Okay, and then we'll have the same thing with the V. So if I start with a compound curve, there we go. Oh, I've got wobbles, hold on. Happens to the best of us. There we go. Should I say there I go? Haven't sorted anything at all. Okay. Now there are words with double V in it. So I think you are going to have to make a decision here, definitely, on how you want to do it. Whether you want to loop it with a ligature like this, or whether you want to just drag it straight into an underturn. I think that is up to you. I personally probably prefer the ligature in this instance. So same deal. We should have a ligature that is about the same as an oval. So if I can fit an oval in here, should be the same oval as what I can fit around it. If that makes any kind of sense. I can check it with my envelope, because I think sometimes I've nailed it and sometimes I haven't down here, to be honest. There we go. Yeah. So I've nailed it here, and then I've lost it because it's too separate, and then I've got it back here again. I keep doing that, and I don't know why. But check it that way, and then you'll be able to see where you've nailed it and where you need to just sort of say, no, I'm not happy with that. All right. Those are group 2 letters, which all comprise an underturn. I think my next group, what's my next group? My next group are all ones that comprise an overturn. So that will be lovely to lead on. So we're going to practice some more of the V and W ligatures, which will be lovely. All right, thank you so much.